What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 1%er podcast. We have a great show for you today with Dave Asprey, the author of Game Changers, and he writes about mavericks and leaders and how they win at life. And he's the author of Superhuman. He talks about aging backwards and maybe even living forever. So to get to living forever, we talk about three things today: how to sleep right, how to get higher quality sleep, and how to get those hours and make them count. We talk about exercising, but how to not just how to exercise better, but how to do it at a higher level. You know, we can only exercise for a certain amount of time, so how to get the most out of every single rep. And then we talk about eating. You know, what foods we should eating and what foods are killing you. So guys, this was an incredible episode. I know you're going to get a ton of value. Tune in. We'll see you guys next time.
Let's talk about the thing that unites all of those. It's your body's ability to take food and air, combine them together to make electricity. And okay, if you can get that done effectively and efficiently and set up your environment inside your body, outside your body. By the way, that's the definition of biohacking. But if you can do that, everything that you do improves. And that's a big part of it. And then the other part of it is, even if you're really good at making electricity, so you take a bite of food, take a breath of air, and all of it that could be converted into the power to be you gets converted. If you have a bunch of bad software, in other words, your belief systems, your automated behaviors, your patterns that you're not even aware of, but the ones that are built in, they can waste a huge amount of energy. Came across a recent study. 15% of people's thoughts, if they're normal people anyway, are about food. So what if you got a 15% performance boost just by not being hungry because you ate the right stuff? That's actually a massive change in the quality of your life. So imagine being in a meeting, like right now even, and instead of paying attention, you're saying, what is for lunch? I'm really hungry, and there's a donut right in front of you, or a bagel, or whatever the heck your drug of choice is. And you're sitting there the whole time going, I want that. No, I want that. No, I want that. No, all that is just wasted mental energy. So when you do something like exercise, all right, what you're doing there, if you're doing it right, is you're stressing the energy production system of the body to say, you know what? You'd better be able to turn on energy production very, very quickly. And if you can do that, you'll survive. And if you can't do that, you're going to have to die and be replaced by something younger. And of course, when I say you, I'm talking about individual parts of individual cells or entire cells themselves. And that's why if you exercise with intensity, the high intensity interval training like that, oh, look, you better go from 0 to 100 back to 0 and be able to do both sides of that curve very quickly. You can get more cardiovascular benefit in 40 seconds of high intensity exercise over 7 minutes. In other words, 2 20-second periods over 7 minutes than you can in 45 minutes of high intensity, not super high intensity, you can't do that, but of medium to high intensity cardio. In other words, you can get more benefit than a spin class in 7 minutes by taking advantage of fast ramping up, fast ramping down. That's kind of cool, right? So you can save a ton of time that way. There's another piece of tech that I used at Upgrade Labs, one of the companies that I started. And this one puts compression on your arms and legs with ice water. So you're sitting on an exercise machine, a cardio machine, but your feet are on brass plates that are chilled with ice water running through them. You're sitting on a thing that's chilled. You don't sweat. You do it for 21 minutes. And it creates the same metabolic adaptation as 2.5 hours of intense cardio.
Wow.
Right? And the whole point of this is A, to save time, B, you don't sweat. So you don't have to take a shower afterwards, which saves you another, half hour or whatever. And it's not to say sweating isn't good. I have a sauna, but sweating from that activity there, that you're not getting the same benefits from the sweat than you are from just the increased intensity. And that's because you're changing the location of oxygenated blood in the body, right? And when blood normally gets oxygenated, you're breathing hard, you're exercising, well, it moves to your skin to cool you down. Since you're already cool, it stays in your organs. So I have a friend who was 73 when he started doing this, and he got his testosterone levels to that of a 30-year-old.
Wow. I'm curious, what is that, you were talking about 2 20-second intervals, a super high intensity. Yep. What does a workout like that look like?
It's an exercise bike. This is actually driven by AI. A company called Carol makes it. And I've got one downstairs. We've got one in Beverly Hills at the Upgrade Labs there. And the way it works is you hop on the bike, a little voice says, hey, go slower. And like literally you're barely moving the pedals. And then it says, oh no, there's a tiger. And then you sprint like you're going to die for 20 seconds. And then, and it's monitoring your heart rate. It says, okay, you made it. Now chill out. And then as fast as you can, you lower your heart rate, just real slow. And then, then real slow. You do that twice, spread out. There's 2 minutes between the two things in the middle of the workout. And that's how you do it. Now, if you don't have an artificial intelligence bike the way I do, I wrote about this in, I think it was Game Changers. It was probably before Superhuman. And what you can do is you can sprint. And when I say sprint, I mean like there's something trying to kill you. It has to be a real thing. 20, maybe 30 seconds. And here's really interesting. You look dumb doing it, but don't worry. It's a park. So you're going to sprint and you're going to lay on your back after you sprint. Like you see guys at a CrossFit gym, you know, they go crazy and then they're done with the workout and they just collapse. Well, there's a reason for that. And it's basically helping the body get into homeostasis faster. So it's not about how fast can you accelerate, it's how fast can you brake in a car. You need both. Well, it turns out metabolically, you want the same thing to happen. So those are real powerful things that you can do. And same thing with putting on muscle. We understand that high intensity, heavy for briefer periods works very well. And we've known that for quite a while, actually. But, you know, let's see, Doug McGuff's work was a big influence on me in the early days of Bulletproof, just saying, look, you can get exercise done in less time when you look at this level of intensity. And what I find today, though, is that all exercise has been pretty much run away from tigers or pick up rocks. Yeah. But there's been nothing else. I guess you could say stretching too. There's like yoga and things like that, which I'm a fan of. But what would happen if instead of doing that, you had a computer doing something different, controlling the resistance? And now we have that happening. There's a company called Tonal out there. And what they do is kind of like Peloton, but it's an exercise machine at home. They control the resistance. We use another company called ARX at Upgrade Labs. And that's more of a commercial grade machine. But what's going on there is gravity pulls you down at 9.8 meters per second. So, you know, you've got something up here and, you know, you're slowly going down, but you're getting pulled at exactly gravity. And that's all you'll ever get pulled at. And gravity accelerates over time. And because of that, your proprioceptors in your elbow, in your body, they will actually tell you, hey, you know what? You might get injured because if you go a little bit fast, if you wobble a little bit, it's going to accelerate and it'll feel heavier than it is. We all know if you toss something up in the air and you catch it, when it's coming down, it feels heavier than it actually is. It's inertia. So to protect you, it'll limit your lift. Well, when you take away gravity and instead you have a winch that's moving at a constant speed that doesn't accelerate, and if you let go of it, it just keeps going. You fight against something like that, it will destroy you. I had one of the top 10 power lifters in the world up here at my labs, up here in Victoria, British Columbia, and put him on a machine like that. Okay, this guy could like bench press my car, right? And he gets on the machine, he's like, oh my God, and he does 4 reps, and he's like, what did you just do to me? You know, it shreds you, right? So you can do that. You just got more exercise in less time. Got another thing over here that runs dual wave electrical current over your body. And I promise you, it's a clinical grade piece of gear. Anyone doing that will put on muscle faster than any workout with weights in the world, because you can turn the muscles on and leave them on exactly as much as you want and then dial up recovery afterwards. So we're at the post-gravity type of exercise. We're at post-cardio exercise, and it's kind of cool.
So Dave, you mean somebody can build muscle without actually lifting weights?
Don't have to lift a thing. I'm telling you, I've made special forces guys scream with the machine, but you could do it. It came out of East German Olympic training. They used to knock people out like with anesthetic and run this on them. Now, though, you can confuse the brain with one waveform and run another. And we've known how to do this for 50 years. It's just not in common knowledge. And the whole point of biohacking, the whole point of what I've done with Bulletproof and with my Dave Asprey blog is my job is to find the stuff that actually works and then to curate it, test it, put it in at Upgrade Labs, and then bring it out into the world so we can all understand, oh, wait, you mean we could save time? Because it sort of irritates me. I used to work out an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, half weights, half cardio in the gym. I was 300 pounds. I was a fat ass. I couldn't lose 100 pounds. At the end of that time, I'm on a low fat, low calorie diet. I'm like doing everything. I didn't look like you guys. I looked like I had 46-inch waist because I still did, right? You know, you can max out all but 2 machines at the gym, but you're still fat, right? So I got a little annoyed at that. And it turns out there's ways to save masses of time and energy, get more results and less injuries. And that's what I'm interested in.
Me too.
Wow.
Me too. At 47, I don't got that kind of time. And I don't think my joints can handle it like I was his age.
It really makes a difference too. And if you have, families and careers and relationships and community involvement and all that, the time you spend exercising, I may piss you guys off with this, it's kind of a waste. Okay, if exercise is your meditation and your peace, it's not a waste. But if exercise is something you're doing like brushing your teeth in the morning because it's necessary for you to look and feel the way you want to feel, if you could do it in half the amount of time and take the other time and actually meditate with that time, it's a higher ROI, right?
Okay, let's talk about food. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you see where a lot of people think it's healthy or something's not?
I know you're a big
Man. The single biggest one. So the Bulletproof Diet, and this normally isn't even on my desk, but I was showing it to someone yesterday. This book's, it's now in paperback and all that stuff. People have lost 1 million pounds on the Bulletproof Diet. It caused global shortages of grass-fed butter. And it's the book that gave people permission to eat saturated fat again. Because 45% of your brain, as you read in Superhuman, the anti-aging book, it is saturated fat. Your cell membranes are made out of fat, and stable saturated fat, it's a signaling molecule to the body that says less inflammation. We're in a time of plenty. When you eat all these seed oils, which it's a big misconception, polyunsaturated fats are good for you. No, you need very small amounts of them where they're good for you. Anything above that changes the composition of your cell membranes. And you could say, who cares about your cell membranes? Look, those mitochondria that make energy, they have membranes. That's what makes the energy. And if you make the membranes out of garbage oils, what you get is inflammation. And inflammation looks like a muffin top, and it also looks like cognitive dysfunction. It looks like diabetes is what it looks like. So the biggest misconception that people have is that these polyunsaturated plant-based oils are good for you. The majority of plant-based oils are not good for you. There's some exceptions like coconut oil and things like that, olive oil, but all the corn, canola, safflower, sunflower, they simply are not food for humans or most animals. Because when cows and pigs eat that kind of grain, their fat changes the same way that our fat changes. And then those animals are bad for you. So the second big myth is that plant-based diets are good for you. Plant-based diets make people weak and infertile. I've written a book on infertility and on fertility. My wife was infertile when I met her, and she's a Karolinska-trained medical doctor. And I will tell you flat out, after lots of research and interviewing hundreds of anti-aging doctors over the years, 2 of them have promoted a vegan diet, and they were fat. So it just doesn't work, right? And the idea that because industrial animal production is bad for humans, bad for animals, and bad for the planet, therefore we should have no animals on the planet except for humans, that is garbage thinking, and we have to stop it. Because if you don't have animals shitting on your soil, you will not have healthy vegetables. It is a life cycle. It is a circle of life. That's why I live on a 30-acre farm. It's a permaculture farm. And if you eat my bacon, it's a religious experience because it tastes different, because the fat in it is made the way it's supposed to be instead of from corn and soy. So we need to fix our animal production, but a plant-based diet will make you weak over time, universally. And clearly you guys work out. If any good trainer will tell you this, someone comes in on a plant-based diet and just have them hold on to a bar above their head, the vegans fall off in 3 seconds. The people who eat like Cheetos and corn dogs, they can hang on for 5 or 10 seconds. And the people who eat clean and aren't trained can hang on for 20 seconds. It's because of fat. It's the type of fat that we eat. So number one, plant-based diets are not good for you, but some plants are good for you. Most plants want to kill you. You don't believe me? Go into the forest and eat a few leaves. And then, well, if you don't end up in the hospital, you'll end up in the bathroom. So plants really, they hate us and they cover themselves with toxins, and we can detoxify them. But we were designed to eat grass-fed natural animals as a meaningful part of our diet. When you do it, you live longer.
Okay.
Now, if you would recommend people to add a couple foods to their diet, what would those be?
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the 1%er podcast. As a token of my appreciation, I'm going to send you my free training video on productivity. All you have to do is message me the word time on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @SamBakhtiar, or simply go to the show notes and click the link and message me the word time.
It's more important to stop eating bad things than it is to add things. So number one, stop eating kale. Kale is stupid. Kale tastes bad. And
That's true.
right. So here's why it's not just a flavor issue. By the way, I was a raw vegan. So everything I'm saying here about vegans and stuff like that, I have lived that life, right? And you can even lose weight on a vegan diet. It's called malnutrition. But what happens with kale, and in fact, I went on the Joe Rogan show and I told Joe about this about 5-6 years ago. And he decided he wanted to back one of his friends who was trying to compete with Bulletproof. And he didn't take the advice, but just about 2 weeks ago, he did take the advice finally. And I told him, Joe, you're telling everyone to do kale smoothies. Kale is full of a plant toxin called oxalic acid. That's a big deal. And when you eat a lot of these leafy greens raw, like kale, chard, and even some things that you wouldn't think are a big deal, like raw spinach, really bad on those levels. You eat those, this free acid goes into the body, binds with calcium, and it goes into your joints and causes joint dysfunction. It goes into your kidneys, causes kidney stones. It goes into your labia if you're equipped with those, and it causes little crystals there, something called vulvodynia, which is something you do not want as a woman because you can't touch that part of your body. It can go into your brain and cause brain fog, and it builds up over time. So people who are dosing themselves with kale, raw kale all the time, well, over time, bad things happen, and it can take years to get all those crystals out of the body. I know, because I was a raw vegan. I did that. And so I said, maybe you should cook your kale. And if you cook it, put some baking soda or some calcium in there to precipitate out the acid, dump the water, and then you can eat cooked kale. But raw kale is something that my pigs spit out.
Wow.
They know not to eat it.
I know, I hate it.
Yeah, so you can just look at that and be like, that's garnish, that's not food. It was garnish when I was a kid. You go to like the buffet and it'd be there like to look pretty, but no one, you wouldn't eat that. And then somehow someone's like, I think I'll eat it. So those are big misconceptions. Kale is bad for you. Polyunsaturated fatty oils are bad for you. And butter from grass-fed cows is good for you.
Okay.
What are a couple staples in your diet? That's what I want to know.
Well, collagen protein has magic powers. And the reason collagen is all the rage, there's many companies who have different takes on it now, it's because of the work I did with Bulletproof, just telling the world, hey, this is something that used to be considered sort of like unnecessary. It was used for making little capsules to put vitamins in. And I said, no, the science is very strong that we need more of this. And the reason collagen is important, it comes from either bone broth or from skin. Well, we have lots of bones and skin in our bodies, in case it wasn't obvious. But the building blocks in all proteins are amino acids. And amino acids combine in different amounts. Think of them like letters in a word. So you can have 10 letters and arrange them in Scrabble however you want and make different proteins from these aminos. When we eat muscle meats, which is what most of us eat, we end up getting way too much of certain amino acids that are inflammatory. And in Superhuman, my anti-aging book, I talk about mTOR and how you want mTOR to put on muscles, but you don't want mTOR for chronic inflammation. And what you can do is you can take collagen as a protein source that's low in the amino acids that trigger that and high in the amino acid that counters that, called glycine. So a staple for me is I do collagen protein every day. I have for 10 years. And that's good because it takes 7 years to replace half the collagen in your body. So you do 20 grams of collagen or more a day, you'll actually over time be able to build healthier collagen in your body just as the natural turnover of collagen in your skin, your bones, your connective tissue happens like that. The other thing that is a core staple of my diet is grass-fed butter. It's my main source of saturated fat. And of course, Bulletproof Coffee contains grass-fed butter and MCT oil, a special kind of MCT oil. And I think those are also staples in my diet. MCT oil has been life-changing for my brain and for my energy levels. I very much think it's a big deal. We've done 200 million cups of Bulletproof coffee through Bulletproof at this point. I think it's safe to say that's not a fad because, 1 million pounds lost and all that kind of stuff. So it works. And if you are living I'm cutting out saturated fat and salt from my diet kind of life, your life sucks because you're constantly hungry. And this low salt, the salt recommendations from the current government levels, they're so low that according to, really good medical research, they're increasing people's heart attack rates, because when salt levels drop too low, an enzyme called renin goes up in the blood. And when renin goes up, your heart attack risk goes up. So a little more salt might be good for you if it's not making you retain water.
Okay.
Now let's talk about sleep. What do you?
right.
Yeah. What do you think a lot of people? How can we get better sleep? Honestly, just.
Well, right now I'm actually doing something, the Dave Asprey Sleep Challenge, daveasprey.com/sleep challenge or sleep-challenge or something. It's funny that you mentioned that. I don't think we planned it, but I've written some of the original content on the internet about how to hack your sleep. And it's finally starting to become a part of our awareness. 8 hours of sleep a night is meaningless if it's crappy sleep. So focusing on quantity instead of quality is a uniquely American thing to do. Yeah, I got more calories. Yeah, but it's all corn syrup. You don't really want those calories. You should fast, right? So I would rather stay up all night than get 8 hours of useless sleep. The people who live the longest sleep 6.5 hours a night, not 8 hours a night. This doesn't mean you should sleep less. It means healthy people need less sleep, right? So what do? There's a lot. I don't know if I can answer that in the time we've got. The sleep challenge, I'm walking people through it over 14 days, where every day there's a lesson and what to do. But the number one thing is don't eat after the sun goes down. If you do that, you're going to sleep better. It's a big deal. If you have a hard time and you're waking up at around 3 or 4 in the morning with your thoughts racing, you can't go back to sleep, real common problem. That's caused by unstable blood sugar. Your blood sugar crashes because your metabolism isn't working right. When that happens, your body then says, hey, I know how to get my blood sugar back up. How about some cortisol and adrenaline? And then your blood sugar goes right back up because that's what those hormones do. Unfortunately, they also keep you up and make your thoughts race and make you have anxiety and all. So what you can do is before bed, a little bit of collagen protein, a little bit of MCT oil, and for some people, a little bit of raw honey. By the way, it's not raw if you stir it into tea. It needs to actually be raw. And those work via different pathways to stabilize energy throughout the night so that you don't wake up in the middle of the night, which is a pretty good deal. Your bedroom needs to be blacked out. If you can see anything, whether it's an LED light or a street light around a curtain, you're doing it wrong. You should be sleeping in a cave. And before bed, I actually started a circadian biology company called TrueDark. Every single night, I look like Cyclops. I'm wearing these glasses. We have several different models. The ones that are patented, they're called Sunset. I patented the gradient lens on those because blue blockers don't work during the day. They block too much blue, which messes up your sleep at night. So you can need to block some blue indoors during the day. But in the evening, for an hour before bed, if you wear the TrueDark glasses, holy crap, you'll see your brain waves change if you have an EEG machine. If you have an Oura ring, like I'm wearing right now, that monitors your sleep, I double my deep sleep if I wear red lenses before I go to bed. And I even we just launched this thing, the True Light bulb. So in my bedroom, I have a bulb that's remote controlled. It can be a white light if I want, but at night I put it on red. So it looks like I'm either in a submarine or a house of ill repute. It doesn't really matter, or I'm a vampire. I will tell you, my kids do this. My wife does this. The entire house sleeps really well at night. And that means you can sleep 6 hours and get more sleep than most people get in 8 hours. And you just bought 2 hours a day back. And if you do the math, if you can just save 4 minutes a day, I'm not talking 2 hours a day, that's just a miracle, but just 4 minutes a day over the course of a year, that is 24 hours. And 24 hours equals 3 work days. So we're talking about massive savings if you can just get even 5 minutes better sleep. So you wake up, you're like, oh, I'm done sleeping 5 minutes earlier. That time is yours. And you can do something with a day of time. And if you just pay attention to the little places where your energy leaks out, sleep is where most people's sleep leaks out the most. And the second place is on their plate. So you put better energy in, eat at the right time, sleep like a rock star. I don't mean like a real rock star, but like a rock star of sleep. And you're good to go.
Yeah. So now what do you do if you're feeling a midday crash? Like, what do you recommend if you're in a meeting like this and you're just zoning out, you're just falling asleep? How would you handle that?
Hey, thank you so much for watching this episode of the 1%er podcast. Do me a favor, take a screenshot that you're watching this podcast and tag me on Instagram at Bakhtiar, and I will repost it and give you a shout out.
Well, I would first say, what the heck did I do to cause myself to have a crash? And you got to look at what you had for lunch. You either had Corn syrup or MSG or artificial colorings, most likely, or you maybe eat something fried. Those are very common causes of a crash. But in particular, MSG, hidden MSG in food, is the most likely cause of your afternoon crash. Okay. And so don't do that again. And if that happens, there's this amazing compound called espresso, and I highly recommend it. So that's why people drink coffee in the afternoon. There's nothing wrong with drinking coffee for that. But what's wrong is that you should drink coffee because you want to drink coffee, not because you have to drink coffee. And you should stop drinking it after 2 if you want to go to bed at 10. You can stop after 3 if you want to go to bed at 11. So there's other things you can do that are pretty remarkable. Some people say, I'll have a piece of candy because their energy production is lower. And look, glucose from candy will raise your energy production at a cost, because then you're going to crash 20 minutes later, and pretty soon you're like on the Jolly Rancher train, and you know where all the candy's hidden around the office, and you're like eating it, and then pretty soon you have a 46-inch waist like I did. Not a good strategy. So I make something. I'm going to sound like I'm trying to sell you guys on stuff. I'm actually not trying to sell you on anything. It won't change my life if your listeners buy or don't buy Bulletproof. We're doing really well, thank you. I'm going to tell you why I created stuff, because I only create stuff I couldn't buy. I make something called Keto Prime. This primes the pump of your mitochondria. And it is a rare type of ketone that's not related to the ketosis that we actually know about. It allows your cells to fully use sugar or fat in the Krebs cycle to make electrons. Usually we have a few defective things and it trickles off. The car engine slows down a little bit. I take 3 keto primes if I'm in that kind of a situation, and my brain comes back on in 5 minutes. And that works really, really well. It's a metabolic issue. It's not something else unless you were drugged. If you're drugged by MSG, you actually do want the sugar. You need the sugar to pump stuff out. At that point, it's keto prime plus sugar plus coffee. But like, dodge the MSG. That ranch dressing that says it's MSG free. No, the recipe for ranch dressing is MSG, garbage oils, and something to make it all get all mudded up together. It's gross. So no more ranch dressing. Sorry.
Okay. Wow. That was awesome, man. It's it's 10:30, but I appreciate your time so much, man. I really do, and that was incredible value that you dropped.
Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here for you guys. And I just want to say, if you get the energy in your body working right, your physical body will change. Mine has changed radically. But more importantly, the shape and the stability of the energy of what you do in the world changes as well. Your company will change. Like, your relationships will change. But it starts inside subcellular components, and it works up through your biology, and it works out into your community, into your world around you. And that's why this biohacking stuff is so important, because you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything I talk about. I can barely do all the things I talk about. Sometimes I'm just testing it to see if it's real, but you're going to find the ones that stick. And the book Game Changers is probably for people who are just getting going. That's when, hey, what should I do first? It's got 40 or 50 things in it that other people, not just me, have vetted. And then if you want to live forever, you should read Superhuman. You want to know how to eat? Read the Bulletproof Diet. And as always, go to Bulletproof Radio and check that out, because I interview some cool people just like you guys do.
Awesome. Guys, so yeah, go follow Dave. Go check out his content and his products and everything. But we appreciate you being on the show, man. We really do.
Awesome. Happy to be here for you.
Hey guys, if you like today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.